Okay, so what can you expect to spend on clothing if your net monthly income is $8,200? So if I go to my budget basics page, which is this one, and I look for clothing, that's 5%. Okay, so I'm going to take 8,200 and multiply it by 5%. And when I multiply it by 5%, 8200 times, sorry, not 8%, 5%, I'm going to get $410. Okay, which meal? This is a good one. This is not. We have chicken nuggets, fries, no. Pancakes, hash browns, no. This one, it has roast beef. It has celery, string cheese, carrot sticks. Yes, this is a good meal. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to multiply it by each one of these. Now, if I take 30520 and I multiply it by 0.12, 3662.40. If I take that same thing and I multiply it by 22%, I get 6714.40 because we're talking about money. 20 times 0.24. I get $7,324.80. Now, last but not least, I take it and I multiply it by 32%. $9,766.40. Now, because we're talking about 30,000, which one of these would it be under? 30,000 would be under this one. So that is the one that we would use. So the $6,714.40. Now, that's how much we would owe annually. That's how much money you would owe annually. Okay? So my yearly net income, I would take the 30520 and subtract $6,714.40. So when I do that, oops, I need the calculator. So 30520 subtract 6714.4, and I would get $23,805.60. That's how much money I would make in a year. Now, when we did it before, we did the dividing by 12 first because we were looking for the monthly net income. This time it asked for the yearly net income, and so we went off of that first. So if I'm going to do the monthly, I'm going to take the $23,805.60 and divide that by 12. Okay, my calculator, 805.60 divided by 12 gives me $1,983.80. That's how much you would make in 1 month. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing down here. And I'm just going to go ahead and write this down over and over again. And again, the first thing it's asking for is the yearly net income. That's why we're not dividing by 12 first. So I'm going to take and multiply that by 0.12 and get 22,440 and 187. Multiply that by 0.22 and get 41,140. and 187 and multiply that by 0.24. Get 44,880 and 187 and multiply that by 0.32. Okay, so those are all of our choices, but we need to decide which one is it really in. So $187,000 would be, 187 would be right here, so that's 32%. So I'm going to come down here to the 32%, and that's going to get me $59,840. Now that's my taxes owed. So I need to take 187,000 and subtract 59,840. I get 127,160. And then I would divide that by 12. If I divide that by 12, I get $10,596. And it goes 0.6 repeating forever, but we can't have more than 2 decimal spots. So we needed to do that. We needed to round to the nearest hundredth. Okay, so we're doing the same thing down here. Exact same thing. Okay, so now we're going to take 44,875 and multiply it by 12%. Get 5,385. Take that same number, 44,875, multiply that by 22%. Get $9,872.50. 44,875. Multiply that by 24%, $10,770. And last but not least, 875, and multiply that by 0.32 and get 14,360. Now, this is 44,000. 44,000 is going to be in this range. Okay, it's going to be in this range. So that's 22. So I look at the 22% one. That's $9,872.50. So in order to find the yearly net income, I take the gross and I subtract the taxes. So I'm going to subtract the taxes and I'm going to get $30,515. In order to get this next one, I'm going to divide it by 12. And get $2,542.92. Okay, this next one. 210,000. Okay. Multiply it by 0.12. 25,200. Point 2. Multiply that by 32%. Okay. So we found all of those. So that's 210. So that's the 35%. Uh-oh. We didn't even do 35%. So we still have to do the 35% one. And if I did the 35% one, that's 73,500. So I'm going to take my starting. I'm going to subtract 73,500. and I'm going to get 136,500. That's our yearly net. And then I'm going to take that number and I'm going to divide that by 12. And each month the person is going to get $11,375. Okay, and letter E. 131,000. My videos are always entertaining with the dogs. Callie. Times 12%, 15,720. 0.22 will get us 28,820. Well, that's the wrong number altogether. 131. 23 times 0.24, 31,440, and multiply that by 0.32, and that's 41,920. So 131,000. Love how I leave all of this on here. 131 would be the 32%. Okay, so the 32% one is the 41,920. So I take the original amount, I subtract the taxes, and it gives me my net for the year. Then I take the 89,080, divide it by 12, because now I need to know what my monthly is going to be. That's $7,432, and the 3 repeats. So I just leave it as 33 cents. The next part says we have an apartment that we want to get, and the monthly amount we receive is $4,115. An apartment, if I go out for my budget basics, an apartment is 30%. So if I take this and I multiply it by 30%, that will get me 4.50. Okay? But the apartment cost $1,800. So no, the apartment costs, and I can only spend $1,234.50. What's the difference between net and gross? Gross is before taxes. Net is after taxes. Okay. So you're renting your first apartment for $1,500. The landlord is going to charge you the first. So that's first month's rent. Last month's rent, that's another. And then 75% of a security deposit. So how many 1050s do I have? I have 2. Then plus, because this word plus, the security deposit, which is 75% of what you would be paying monthly. So I take what I pay monthly and multiply it by 75%. And when I do that, I would get 2 times 1050, which would get me 2,100. And 75% would be $787.50. So I get $2,887.50. Then you just signed a lease to rent a 2-bedroom apartment for $15.75 a month. The landlord would be charging you 80%. Now this time it doesn't say first and last month. It's just going to be the first month's rent, because when you go to walk in and move in, you have to have your first month's rent plus a security deposit. So I need 80% of the first month's rent. So $15.75 plus $15.75 times 0.8. And that would get me $2,268. Did I do that right? 1575.8 plus 1575. Nope, I did that wrong. I hit the button too many times. Okay. So the next one is we need to figure out, or we need to do our check register. And when we do that, we want to put it in calendar order. So we're going to put it in calendar order. The order of the calendar, right? So I have a June 1st. I'm going to put that down. 8 is not June. So this is 6/1, and you got paid. So that's your paycheck. And that's $3,170. Then on the 1st also, I paid rent for $876 on the check of 2814. Okay, so I've done this one. The next in order would be 6/8. And I went to Vons and I paid $103.62, and I used a card. So I did this one. Then the next date is 6/13. And that's a deposit. And that's recycling. And that was $35. So I did that one. Then June 22nd. And that's the electric. So Southern California Edison. So 83.23. And that was check 2815. And last but not least is June 25th. That's car insurance. That was $34.79. And that was check 2816. So now I need to go over here and do my balance. So I have $3,170. And this is subtracting because it's debit. So I'm going to take that 3,170 and I'm going to subtract 876. And I would get 2,294. Then I went to Vons and I spent some money, 103.62, and I'm going to subtract that and I'm going to get 2,190.38. Oh, but then I did my recycling, so now I need to add $35. That'll get me $2,225.38. And then I had to pay the electric, so that's taking away money, $83.23. I subtract $2,142.15. And then I have to pay my car insurance. That is very cheap car insurance. And I have $2,107.36. So the next part is that we're going to write a check for the electric bill from question 8. So question 8, the electric bill is right here. We did it on 6/22. So we're going to write 6/22/24. And it's the electric bill, so it's to Southern California Edison. Okay. That electric bill was $82.23. So 83.23 cents. Making sure you put that line so nobody can steal your money. Electric. And then you sign it. And there we have it. Okay, so this next part, we're starting our checking account with $200. February 1st, so 2/1, we got a paycheck. And that was $4,890. Then on February 2nd, paid the cable bill. That was $115. And that was check 1130. So I did this one, I did this one, I did this one. Then February 3rd, I paid the rent for $13.50. That was check 1131. And then the next one is 2/4. And we went to Vallarta for $320.32. And that was a debit card. And then 2/20, you got a Venmo for babysitting. So you got paid for babysitting. And then on the 28th, you have to pay your gas bill. And that's $73.48 with check number 1132. Okay, so now we had $200 and we added our paycheck of $44,890. When you got that, it's $5,090 that you have now. And then you had to pay your cable, so you subtract $115. And you have $4,975. Then you had to pay your rent, so you subtract $13.50, and you get $3,625. Then you went to Vallarta, so you subtract $320.32, and you get $3,304.68. Then you got paid for babysitting, so you add $50 to your account. $3,354.68. And then you had to pay for your gas bill. And that was $73.48. So $3,281.20. Okay, we're going to skip number 11 for right now. So we're going to address an envelope to Southern California Edison. So the 2 is here. Okay, that's at 25625 Rye Canyon Road. That's in Valencia, California. And that is 91355. And it came from me from 28771 Rio Norte Drive. And that's in Valencia, California, 91354. And then you'd put a stamp on it. Okay. Then we're going to come down here and we're going to do a car. So you decide to buy a $50,000 car. That's what you're starting off with. Okay. And the taxes on that are 9%. So your taxes for that, so 50,000, 50,000 times 9%. So that's going to get you, and if you don't remember where to find this, we've been doing a lot of this stuff, but I think some of you keep forgetting. It's the very last pages. It's after the envelope. It's after this right here. This right here tells you exactly what you're going to be doing. Now, there are a few things that are going to change, like what that percent is, what this percentage, how many years it is, and what we're going to divide it by. Okay? So this number right here is, sorry, I did not mean to write that word. This right here is going to be your tax, okay, your sales tax. Then you're going to add them together. You're going to add these two lines. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. You're going to add these two lines together. Then you're going to take what you get right here, and this is your interest rate. Okay, so let's go back and do this. So the very first thing we're going to do is find the sales tax. We did that. Okay, so we're going to take the $50,000 and we're going to add the tax to that. So you would get $5,400. Let's try that again. $54,500. That's how much your car is with the tax. Okay. Now, okay, so we look back at this. So we had the price of the car, we found the tax, we added the two together. The next that you have to do is the interest rate. Okay, so let's come back over here and we're going to do the interest rate. The interest rate right here is 5.25%. So I'm going to take 54,500. Going to multiply it by 0.0525. Be careful of where you put the zeros in the decimal point. So we're going to take that number and multiply it by 0.0525. And we're going to get $2,861. Now, that is your interest for 1 year. But how long is this loan for? Look at this. It's for 4 years. So I have to take this $2,861.25 and I have to multiply it by 4 years. Because that loan is going to be going on for 4 years. And that's going to get me $11,445. Okay, so let's look. Have we done this? We did the multiplying by the interest rate. And then we took that money and we didn't have 5 though. We had 4. Okay, we did that. Now what does it do? We need to add these two together. So what are we adding? We're right, the price with tax and the total interest. Those are the two numbers we're adding together. So this right here was the price with tax. This number right here was the total interest. So we're going to take 54,500. We're going to add $11,445. And that's going to get what the total cost of the car over 4 years is going to be. So that would get us $65,945. Okay, so that came from right there. What is your monthly payment over 4 years? Well, how many months are in 4 years? Okay, so there are 12 months in 1 year. There are 4 years, so there are 48 years. 48 months. See, on here you divided by 60 because in 5 years there are 60 months. But we don't want to divide by 60. We want to divide by 48. So we're going to take this 65,945. We're going to divide that by 48. And when I do that, that gets me what my monthly cost is, $1,373. Oops, I didn't mean to put a comma. Period, 85. Now it has a 417 on the end, but that 4 is not a 5 or higher, so we just keep that it is 85. Okay, so now we're going to do the exact same thing. Okay, this time it's 5 years. This time the car loan is this. Okay, the taxes are this. So we're doing the exact same thing we did a minute ago. So I'm going to show it up top so that you can see what we're doing. So we write down how much the price of the car is. We're going to multiply it by the interest. I mean, not the interest, the sales tax. The sales tax is 8%. Okay? So I take 82,000. I multiply it by 0.08 and I get 6560. Then the next thing I do is I add the original price and I add the sales tax, just like if you were going out to lunch and you went to In-N-Out. You have to pay not just the price, but you have to pay the sales tax also. Okay? So this right here is the price of the car plus the sales tax. Then the next step right here is we're taking the interest rate. So if I look, this is the interest rate. That is 0.0675. So I'm going to take 88,560. I'm going to multiply that by 0.0675. 0.0675. And I'm going to get that my interest from my loan is $5,977.80. Now that's just for 1 year. But my loan is going to be for 5 years. So I need to take that interest and I need to multiply it by 5. We're going to take that and multiply it by 5. So times 5. So my interest over 5 years is $29,889. Oh, I didn't want to do that. I mean, I didn't want to move this so you couldn't see up above. So then what we had to do is we have to add the price. I actually want to do this. I want to add the price of the car with sales tax with the amount of money that you're going to have to pay in interest. I want to add those together. 560. That means that my car is going to be $118,449. Okay, so that's with the loan over. Oh, this should say 5 years. Sorry, 5 years. This should say 5 years. Okay. Now, it wants what's my monthly payment. So this says 5 years. So we're going to divide that by 60 because 12 times 5 gets 60 months. So we're going to divide by 60. And it comes out to $1,974.15. A very expensive car. Okay, so the next part we're going to do is a house. Okay, so let's go back over here so we can go through a house and how to do the house. Where's house? House is, oh, it's right here. So we're buying a house. So the first thing I need to write down is the price of my home and then multiply it by the deposit. Okay, so we haven't looked to see what the deposit's going to be. It says you just bought a house for $287. So, sorry, $287,000. That's how much I'm starting off with. Then it says it has an interest rate on the loan of 4.5%. Hey! and you have a 20% deposit. So I'm going to multiply this by 20%. Okay? So this is how to find my down payment. Oops. Multiplying it by 20%. That's going to get my down payment is $57,400. Okay? Now, if the cost after the down payment. So, if it costs $287,000 and I have to give $57,000, that means I need to subtract those two numbers. So I'm going to take the 57, I didn't give myself a lot of room, and I'm going to, nope. Sorry about that. I'm going to take the $287,000 and I'm going to subtract 57400. Okay, so 287,000 minus 57400. Okay, so this is how much my house is going to cost now, and that's how much I'm going to need in order to figure out what my payment is going to be each month. So the next thing is I have to find the interest. Well, it says the interest right here is 4.5. So I take the 229,600 and I multiply it by 0.045. So I'm going to take that 5 and I get $10,332. So $10,332. Okay, that's for 1 year. I need it for 30 years. So I'm going to take that number and I'm going to multiply it by 30. So $309,960. Okay, so all I did was take 10,332, multiply that by 30. And I got the 309,960. Then it says, what's the total cost? Total cost. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these two numbers right here and I'm going to add them together. So plus 229,600. And I'm going to get 539,560. Okay. Now, my monthly payment, 30 years at 12, that's going to be 360. So that's going to be get me $1,498.78. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing. Okay. My deposit is going to be 25%. Okay. That's my down payment. And then I need to subtract that. So 312,123 minus 78123. And I get 234. Okay, interest 1 year, that's this right here. So I'm going to multiply that number by 0.038. I get $8,892 times 30. That gets me $266,760. Okay, so then I'm going to take these two numbers and I'm going to add them together. So plus 234,000 and get 500,760. And I'm going to divide that by 360. $1,391 each month.